Protesters in Iran set fire to Khomeinis' ancestral home.
Here's a summary of the article.
Protesters in Iran set fire to Khomeinis' ancestral home. DW November 18, 2022. As protests stretch past the 2-month mark in Iran, the fire at the home where the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini was born represents a symbolic attack on the heart of the regime image. Sabin Farajvan, Pacific Press, Picture Alliance. The structure was set ablaze as protesters celebrated a symbolic victory over the Iran's regime. The ancestral home of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini that has functioned as a museum to the late Supreme Leader was set on fire by anti-regime protesters who continued their nearly 2 months of defiance against the hardline rule of Iran's theocratic rulers. Iranian state news agency Tasnim denied the late cleric's showpiece home was on fire. In 1979, Khomeini returned from France to Iran to take the helm of the Islamic Revolution unfolding in his country. During the protests that have consumed Iran in the last 2 months, portraits of Khomeini have been set alight and scribbled on in acts of defiance.
This post received a score of 24,000, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Nice. Hit them where it hurts. They obviously don't value human lives, but a building where some long-dead religious fanatic used to live is priceless and sacred.
It hurts even more when you hit their pocketbooks and wallets.
I'm sure that was a big drive of tourism in the area. Maybe not international so much, but definitely local. It will have a draw that would create more economic movement.
It's a bad time to be an authoritarian leader these days.
It needs to be worse.
The tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of tyrants. Too many innocents have done already.
The full quote, from Thomas Jefferson, is, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Never forget that it isn't just the blood of tyrants spilled, it's also the blood of those with the courage to stand against them."
Tie for the full quote. Can't believe it's my first time hearing it.
Have you not seen The Rock? Bruh.
Patriotism is the virtue of the Viksush.
I wonder if they were able to save the souvenir shop. ?
No. Haram. As an Iranian, this is the most cathartic piece of news.
Zendegi, Azadi. The old regime is quivering in their boots. I feel for the protesters who will lose a part of themselves as they are forced to resort to desperate acts of extreme and uncharacteristic violence that they will remember long after the regime has fallen.
If your tactic is violence against protesters, expect them to escalate in return. This is basic common sense and the reason countries try to avoid nuclear-level conflict. Not sure how I feel about that quote in the context of all the violent coups the CIA was involved with in that era.
CIA coups against democratic governments they replaced with dictatorships.
It's also important to note that some of the coups associated with the CIA aren't confirmed by any official declassified documents from the governments involved, the US, or Soviet archives, like the '63 coup in Iraq. The level of CIA and Soviet involvement in the coup in Chile is also a matter of a lot of debate. If you're semi-illiterate like you, last impression 4196, you may note that I didn't mention Guatemala or any other case where there is very good evidence of CIA involvement. However, I do love when a dummy does a drive-by reply and blocks me.
Going strong until suddenly whoa yikes. I guess that was brought on by being blocked?
It's so wild to think about how the Middle East at one point centuries ago was rapidly expanding, had some of the best cities in the world, Baghdad for example, and was becoming very progressive for its time. Then the Mongols showed up and burned everything down. I often wonder what our world would be like today if that never happened. Would there be Muslim extremism? Would there be these theocratic autocratic governments? Or would places like Tehran and Baghdad have been regional economic centers that welcomed business from around the world for quite a while by this point?
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.